and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color. I am Jed Toffer, and tonight, this evening, I get to speak with some old friends of mine, Eric and Kristen Kaiser. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
How you doing?
They're here with me at my dining room table as we have this.
Yes.
We have this set up.
It's fantastic. It's nice. I love it.
I mean, we have some great things in store. I'm pretty excited about this because I've known both of these guys for quite some time. Eric in particular, I probably knew you when you were born.
Probably.
I know you. I've known you so long. I don't know when
I don't remember meeting you ever. I don't.
No, there was no meeting.
Yeah.
We were just kind of integrated into each other's lives.
I was trying to think earlier. I'm like, no, I don't. There was never a day.
No, there's no day. It's just like a swarm of years mixed together.
Yeah. That's the best way to put it.
And Kristen was my neighbor.
Yes.
For a while, and I don't remember what year that was when that you guys moved in there. Do you?
I don't either.
Maybe
Back
like
in the day.
06 or 07?
Sounds right.
It had to be then, right?
Something like that.
And that's when we were photographers, and you were probably in high school still. I don't even remember because you're younger.
I got my driver's license while I was at that house.
Yes,
I remember that.
See, so it all fits. So we were waxing nostalgic earlier about various things, and it's just funny all the different things that you remember when you start talking about stuff.
Yeah.
But you guys are so Kristen is photographer, and Eric, you're more like sort of the, what do you call yourselves? The lackey? That's what I was.
Yeah, I'm the carrier of all things and talent manager.
How does that work?
He's being modest, though.
I want to know how that works.
He shoots with me too, though.
Yeah.
You do.
He's
you
being
do
very
some
modest.
second
I
shootings.
do. I've actually really, really surprisingly gotten into it way more than I ever thought that I would.
I thought you were
Where did you think I was going?
I thought you were going to say, I've actually really, really done some great work.
That's what I thought too. And I was about to say how humble he was, and then I was going to retract my statement.
You know me really well if you think that's what I was going to say. I'm trying hard not to say that.
I thought you were going to go there. I thought you were. I know you do some of that. That wasn't planned, was it?
No.
For you guys?
No.
None of this was planned.
Was any of it planned? That's what I was going to ask you. Like,
yeah,
Kristen, what happened? What happened to you?
What happened? That's a loaded question.
It is.
No, I was working for Caterpillar, actually. I went to school for public relations and was not planning on doing photography at all. About the only experience I had in photography was, back when I was in high school doing the MySpace, like angles shots.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. That's the only reason why I had a camera before. But we went to Colorado, actually, the year after we got married. And I had never been west of like Iowa at the time. It was pretty sad Midwest life over here.
We're in Illinois. So
yeah, we are.
Iowa is close.
So one state over. Yeah. But so we took photos, or I took photos rather, over there, just because it was my first time really seeing the mountains, and thought I was going to be Ansel Adams after that, which I realized is probably not going to happen. But
you're shooting high.
Yeah, a little bit. Had some high expectations for myself, but
good.
Yeah, I got home and started just playing around with photography, and did my first couple, and just kind of fell in love with it from there. But yeah, it was definitely not expected.
What was it like back then for you regarding the financial aspect of it? Like the transfer of money from someone, like for the first time or the first few times. How did you handle that?
With clients, you mean?
Yes.
I did a lot of free stuff because the idea of charging people for my extremely mediocre work freaked me out. But yeah, our first, I guess, paying client was just some good friends of ours, and it was for a family shoot. And I think it was, I don't know, $30 or $40 or something. Yeah. And even then I was nervous to even ask for that, but
And I was there holding a reflector that we didn't even need to have, but I was still holding
yeah, we
it
thought we needed that
diligently.
in the middle
being a
of the
supportive
day.
husband.
Yeah,
Just putting so much
It
light
was-
on
yeah.
their face.
You were
directly.
we had no idea.
Just lighting the foreheads
You're
right up.
just destroying them.
It was awesome.
Oh, we can fix this
Yeah.
later.
Could fix
how
this
that
in
is.
post.
I get it. So but do you consider yourself a wedding photographer? Is
I
that-
do now. Yeah.
Officially,
Yep.
you're a wedding photographer
Yes.
primarily.
Yes.
You do other stuff as well, or is this mostly what you do?
Primarily just weddings and elopements. I do. We do a lot of portrait stuff, just like couples, anniversary engagements
Mhm.
and stuff. And sometimes we do just portrait sessions with individuals too.
How did you like transfer into weddings or cross into weddings? How did that happen?
I guess when I did my first couple, Eric's looking at me like he has something to say about this.
She did
but-
it quite violently.
Oh,
What's that?
Yeah, you took a big step. When you decided that you were going to do weddings.
I did. I just
To
kind of
me,
jumped
just
into
as an
it.
observer, it was like, I'm going to do weddings.
That-
and I was like, wow.
that was traumatic for you.
It was. I'm still
It sounds like
processing.
it was.
No, it was so cool.
Apparently, I
It was
didn't
so
know
cool to
this.
watch. Yeah, she was so confident. She's like, I want to shoot weddings, and
I do remember that.
I'm gonna shoot a wedding, and then she got a wedding, and
And
she
dominated.
shot it, and I was like, whoa, that's awesome and impressive, and I would have never ever in a million years.
Yeah.
I was
So
like-
that
didn't
was
think
never
either.
that was never like on, because you said you didn't plan any of this, but you didn't
No.
even get into any of this thinking someday I'm going to be a wedding photographer.
No, not at all. And I think I started shooting in the summer, and that New Year's Eve I shot my first wedding. Leach shot my first wedding,
Yeah.
and then from there I think I shot probably 10 weddings that next year.
You did.
Yeah, so for me, I shot my first couple, and that was the coolest thing to me, was trying to capture all the little intricacies of someone's relationship
Two people together. Yeah.
in a single image. And that to me was a little bit more interesting than family photography, and I don't hate family photography or anything, but it was just a lot more exciting, I guess.
The
to take.
emotion and the
yeah.
connection, and yeah.
And how often do you, let me ask you it this way, how often do you shoot by yourself?
Well, most all weddings, Eric shoots with me. There's some portrait
That was
sessions.
not the case though in the start
No.
at all.
So it wasn't until
Year
About-
2.
year 2 that he started shooting with me.
And you're on year 3.
Yes, this will be our 3rd year.
Yeah, you've started year 3. I think I saw that
Yes.
a little
Yep.
while ago.
Yeah.
So she shot her whole first year without me. Hired a
I
second
did.
shooter.
Yeah, I had a second shooter. And one wedding towards the end of that year, my first year, my second shooter was really, really ill the morning of the wedding. And so I was just kind of scrambling. And it was a day in October. So it was a very popular wedding day. And I'm like, babe, like, is there any way that you can just come and hold a camera just because I needed a body at that
Yeah.
point?
I knew enough to like just take a picture. It was like
Yeah. And I was able to find someone else. So I had someone, he still came.
we
Oh,
had
you
like
came- you
so I
came
was
anyway.
like third shooter.
Third shooter, yeah.
So she was able to hire another second, and then I was just there for like moral support, because it was just like you go through something like that so last minute, and it's like, okay, this
It
is all
was
hands
very
on deck.
stressful.
Because
You
it was traumatic because of how things were going anyway. So your nerves were all fired
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
And she wasn't shooting with the second that she normally shot with. And
I get
it
all
was
that.
just kind of new
Especially at the
territory.
last minute. Anything that happens
Yeah.
unexpectedly at the
Yeah.
last minute with
Absolutely.
a wedding can send.
Oh man.
Well, we haven't done it in a while, but I remember back in the day, you could go into a tailspin really fast.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, like I thought that this was going to be, 75 degrees. It's 68. What's going on?
Yes. That is
It could
rough.
be
It's
anything.
very rough.
You don't know what it's
Yeah.
going to be, right?
Yeah.
We have lots of stories
Oh, man.
about
Just in the
those
short
situations
couple, yeah.
too.
Absolutely.
It doesn't take very long to get
We
stories.
might be here all night though if
Yeah.
we go into them.
Well, we can save those because this is the first of, I think, 34 podcasts that we
34.
have on the books.
I like
there's
the
so
number.
much to talk about.
So you guys.
It's like we can't even narrow this down at all.
Oh, and we did just find out also that you live 300 yards away.
Not
Yes.
even 300
Less-
You can
yards.
less than
see
300
your
yards?
house
Yeah.
from our house.
I can
so
walk
great.
here faster than I can get in my car, put it in reverse, drive out of the driveway, and drive
It
over
felt
here.
kind of silly driving here, honestly.
Yeah, I was like, this is weird. Why are we doing this?
Well,
We
you had
should
to bring that bottle of
Yes,
wine
yeah.
We
without
did.
dropping it.
We
just
did
like
have
walk.
to safely
Well,
bring over
for the
a
record,
bottle of
I'm
wine.
glad that you drove. I will expect you to drive every time now.
Absolutely.
Let's do this. We wanted to talk about a few things in particular, but one of the things I wanted you guys to talk about is what, like, go through, and you can make it as loose as you want to,
Mhm.
but go through what a wedding day is like
Mhm.
with the two of you in particular. Like,
Mhm.
how does it go? What happens?
Well,
Either one
We're
of you
trying
can
to be
start.
polite.
So I don't want to talk over Kristen because I'm like notorious.
And
For
I
doing
talk
that?
over
Oh,
him
yeah.
constantly,
Yeah, it
so I'm
gets
trying to be
insane.
nice.
That's all right.
For us, like a typical wedding day starts so much way before the actual wedding day. It starts just like with like our client acquisition and getting to know our clients, and we just feel like it's super, super important to like actually really get to know our clients before we even get to the wedding. So we try to do like quite a bit in
before
that.
the wedding itself.
Yeah.
You've already been with them and
Right.
spoken to them
Yeah.
and spent time with them a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we hardly ever show up to a wedding day and have never met the couple.
That's rare.
Yeah, it is rare, and it's more difficult when we travel. But we
So we
from the
Skype,
beginning
we Skype a lot with our couples. and-
Yeah, we place a very high importance on relationship and
Building a rapport.
Yes, just because it makes such a difference in just the shooting, the actual photographing portion of the wedding, and the end result in the images too. If they're that much more comfortable with us.
Well, you know what it's like both ways.
Yes.
Because you've experienced both ways.
Yes,
And so you know
for
the
sure.
value of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's back up one step even because I like that you've used the phrase client acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
How do you acquire most of your clients?
I mostly through Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, Instagram.
Because you have like a couple billion followers.
No,
You're up there. You're
no,
you're sort of Insta famous. You're
not
sort
really.
of that way.
Not really at all.
I'm aware of the Jose Vilas, and I'm aware of all these people that literally have a couple 100,000.
Yeah, that's
But
not
you-
us at all.
You have a lot. You literally have 20 times what I have. 20x.
There's dogs that have hundreds of thousands more followers than I do, so I don't think that I have too much.
Way blown out
room.
of proportion. I've met those dogs. They only post the good days. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
the good times.
those
That's
dog
all
accounts,
They
they
don't
man.
post.
post the real moments.
Super curated feeds. It's
Yeah.
way out of control. I know those dogs.
I know, not a lot
But
of authenticity.
you've done really well. Okay, let me put it this way.
Okay.
You seem to have put a lot of effort into your social media, primarily Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm wrong, correct me.
Mm-hmm.
And SEO.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that right?
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
agree.
for sure. So I would say those are probably the two biggest places that we acquire most of our
So
clients
you're
from.
spending a lot of time and effort
Mhm.
focusing on those two mediums
Yeah.
for getting clients, essentially.
Yeah.
As far as Instagram goes, I kind of would like to think that our clients actually kind of get to know us before they even reach out to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because
and that's
they're
typically
familiar
the
with
They
your
might be
feed.
following us. They might
Yeah.
be seeing
Right.
like what's going on, what we're
So
doing.
a lot of what we do is, we post images and stuff, but a lot of what we do through Instagram is try to get people to get to know us, like he
Yeah.
said, and just be really, ridiculously honest and real with people. And we've had people who have come to us and say like, hey, I've been following you for just like a few weeks and I feel like I already know you
Right.
because
Yeah.
of stuff we've shared. And
Yeah. Oh, I see what you put.
It's-
I see what you put on there.
yeah.
It's
Right.
really hard for me to just go into a wedding and just shoot. It's happened once where I going up and meeting the groom for the first time when he's I'm supposed to be taking pictures of him getting
Right.
dressed,
That's tough.
and he doesn't really want pictures to begin with,
And,
and
then he certainly doesn't want you there.
yeah, and I haven't met him, and he's with
Dude.
his best friends of all time. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't.
That has
That's
happened to
not-
me
yeah.
a half a dozen times,
Yeah.
and it
It's
is
the worst.
horrible.
Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
not gonna get good pictures doing
He
that.
doesn't want you there,
Yeah,
and you don't want to be there
Yeah.
either. And I never thought
Yeah.
about it this way, but it's true. He's with his best friends
yeah. Oh,
in the world.
yeah. He's
on
with his
like
boys.
yes.
Yeah.
On one of the most
On the most
important
important-
days
yeah.
of his
Yeah.
life, if
Yeah.
not the most important
Yeah.
day. And then and there you are.
Yeah.
And if you guys think
Yeah.
that is
Some
bad,
guy with the camera just like, hey, let me take pictures of you like putting your pants on. Like, because like no one's ever taken pictures of you doing that either. This is the first.
It's also the first time that's happened.
Yeah, it's so bad, and I'm like, no, like I want to get to know these people. I
It
want
is
to go out.
That's the perfect storm of
Yeah.
horribleness.
Yeah,
if you guys think that is bad, though, think about a girl pack and how much stronger that is
girl
Same-
packs
than the
are-
groomsmen.
Same thing,
yeah,
though.
You're not getting
It
but
is,
that.
yeah,
much,
very
but
similar.
even much worse, right?
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
you're in that scenario,
Yeah.
and it's funny because if you don't know this yet, you'll find out if you don't do your due diligence to make something happen beforehand where you can build a rapport, and
Yeah.
you'll
Yeah,
then you'll start doing that
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not already.
yeah. I want to walk into the room for the first time on a wedding day and have it be like, oh, Eric, like, hey, like, you're here.
The
like,
side high five,
Yeah.
bro hug.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Like,
like boom.
I'm glad you're. And you know what, dude? Sometimes it takes literally one sit down
Absolutely.
or one Skype call with some banter
yeah.
to get to that
Yep.
point. You
Absolutely.
don't have to take them to a steak dinner 5 times.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You-
Absolutely.
You don't have to do that, but
Yeah.
it's just some sort of point of contact beforehand. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No,
you're
and
right on.
we never want to just be another vendor. We don't even really want them to see us as a vendor.
Right.
We just takes our money. Okay, cool.
Right.
I'll see you in a year at your wedding.
Oh,
And-
right.
It's just too intimate of a thing.
I mean, because we're a part of the most intimate moments on someone's wedding day. I mean, when the bride is getting dressed, it's like her mom, and then me being a part of this, or
and there's
right before she walks down the aisle with her dad or something. So we take that honor very seriously. So we try to get to know them as much as possible, so they
So
feel
you're building a rapport. You're making an effort to establish a relationship beforehand. So
right.
that's all done.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's start with night before the wedding.
Okay.
The night before.
oh man.
So it kind of depends on whether or not we're traveling. Because if we're doing a local wedding,
Yeah,
things are
those will be a little different.
Pretty chill.
a lot
when we're
more
local.
chill. But yeah, night before, usually we spend the whole day just kind of prepping our gear and just mentally and emotionally and making sure, we're getting rest. And with our flights and when it comes to travel, we definitely make sure that we have plenty of time and we're not putting ourselves
We hate
right up to the clock or
rushing in.
anything like that.
I do.
So you'll
like,
get there. You'll get
Well, she
there.
doesn't like rushing in either, I should say. But like I'm a meticulous, calculated planner. I want to show up to a venue 4 hours early and like
Right.
look at everything and figure out everything.
I would prefer that as well.
Yeah, she's more of like she's way more chill than I am, and it's like awesome. It shows up in her photography,
Right.
like that it's like chill, and I'm like uptight.
Well,
And
I
I'm
can-
like, I'll just
but-
show up and be
Yeah.
inspired.
Yeah.
And then that's
Yeah.
it.
You're
Yeah.
like, I'll be inspired
Yeah.
when I
I'll
get
be
there.
fine.
I'm like, I need to figure this out before.
See, I can be chill, but if I need to be there a week and a half beforehand,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I'm so chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough sometimes, like when we're flying in, but we just make sure that we're there like 24 hours early, and we have a whole day to just kind of reset. Like it's really important for us to like set up a home base,
Mhm.
like in our hotel or like Airbnb or wherever we're at. Like we want to like be in a spot where we can just kind of like chill and then go out, maybe look at a venue, look at different spots and scout and kind of, at least for me, like that helps me.
The more
prepare.
the more you can like be familiar with everything, the more
Yeah.
confident you feel.
Yeah.
Right.
How? Let me ask you this, because my wife and we're both pretty stubborn. Our relationship can be volatile at times. How
We can relate to that.
Yeah.
can you?
I
Okay.
Yeah.
suppose that we could relate to
Yeah.
Well, I'm-
We've-
Now listen, I've talked to some people, the husband-wife teams,
Yeah.
in this industry where they're like, and some of them have been married longer than we have, and we've been married more than 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are like, oh, it's like floating on a rainbow in fairy dust on a unicorn with wings.
No.
And that's what working with my spouse is like. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, we talked about this earlier off the podcast, but
Where are we going here?
Well, I'm going to say this because this is what we used to say when we would give our big talks. We would say, the victories. You kind of said this earlier. The victories are that much sweeter.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
The challenging times are horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How realistically, we don't have to get into details, but what do you guys do when that happens? How do you come out of it? Because you got to come out of it.
Yeah.
It's really tough. And to be honest, there's times where we're like, I don't know, almost like, okay, we can't shoot this wedding together because
you get that close.
Oh, it's just like, yeah.
Has that ever happened where you haven't? You haven't quite got that far.
No.
Thankfully, no. But yeah, it's been very close, and
I get it.
It's rough.
So
I mean, it's just kind of a tricky dynamic of being in a marriage relationship with someone and also being business partners.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone will ever be able to perfect that balance.
So much of it is just like our differences. Like I said, like I'm cold, calculated, not cold. Like I am cold sometimes.
Sometimes.
Honestly,
you're warm and fuzzy and calculating. I like that.
Yeah, that's actually really, that is actually what I am.
You're warm
He's
and
just
calculating.
a lot more analytical and
our mind obviously
and numbers. Yeah, you're very.
It's not just like
brain.
Husband-wife differences. Like I'm just like more of a
Just
like a hands-on guy, and she's more of a like
But wouldn't you say that when those types of things are firing on all cylinders for you guys as a relationship, it doesn't get any better because you're complementing each other.
No, and that's where the sparkles and rainbows come in. Because it is.
That's when the unicorns show up.
And that's actually like what I never in a million years thought I was going to be like a wedding photographer.
No, me neither.
Not in a million years. And like you knew me.
Right.
You probably never in a million years thought I'd be doing this.
We were both in the trades.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what we did.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I loved shooting weddings when I was doing it myself for the first year, but I didn't really fall in love with it until we were doing it together.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big piece.
Yeah.
I did
which
not know
is
that.
really, it's really, really cool.
So we had like a sparkles and rainbow unicorns moment shooting anniversary session in Moab, and that was when I was like, "Yep, want to do this.
Really
want to do this."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that you're going to have those tough times or those challenging days or maybe even challenging minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing that it can also be as amazing as that Moab time was.
Yeah.
That's really all it takes.
Yeah.
And you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I try to remind myself of that at times because I mean it is the sweetest thing ever.
I mean, you know how when you're attending a wedding with your spouse, then it's just kind of a cool thing to be there
and it brings you guys even closer.
Yeah, but I feel like photographing a wedding and being a part of it, from the morning hours is just that feeling just amplified, and just being able to work together and experience it.
Yeah, the working together is awesome. The first wedding that I did shoot with her, the one where we had our second get sick, I wasn't at that point at all like really in love with like the photography side of it and the wedding side. I was just kind of there just to like be supportive and help and just to be there, just to be a body really. On that car ride home, we had like a 2-hour car ride home. We wouldn't shut up about, do you remember when this happened and then this happened and this was so cool?
And
it was crazy.
Before that was me. I mean, when I went to weddings by myself, I would just come home and like talk his ear off
she's
about
like, this
all
happened,
this
this
stuff
happened.
that happened. He's like, okay, that's cool.
That's cool, but like,
kind of had to be there sort of thing.
Yeah.
Total. You had to be there.
But when you are there, you get it.
Yeah.
All the feels.
Oh, and it was
there,
me.
right?
It was me spitting a dish too.
Right.
Like it wasn't her. Like I wasn't shutting up about it. I was like, you wouldn't believe like this happened and then I did this and it was awesome and I'm so good.
All the stuff with the guys and the girls.
And they loved me. They thought I was so cool.
Yes. And you know what? It feels freaking great when they love you.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. It
well,
does.
and kind of the other, I guess, dynamic of us working together is it's really nice having him be able to be not only shooting but assisting and also honestly, just like dealing with the people and being really relational, which is one of his strengths for sure. And so it allows me time to just focus on what I need to do as far as shooting goes.
Well, not only that, because I totally get that, knowing you guys for such a long time, but how often do you think he deters somebody from acting a certain, just his presence? You know, because he's like 7'3", and he's got
he's a big dude.
I'm warm, fuzzy, and calculated.
Okay,
I actually think that's very accurate. I think it really
funny
is.
That's gonna be like my new
that.
bio line on my Instagram.
But just his presence, you know, honestly, because I know what things were like for Vicky when I wasn't there, even if she did have an assistant, which was one of the girls that usually worked for us, and I would hear stories.
Yeah.
And when I was there, the stories that I heard about, there was one time where it still happened. Man, I remember that one. But otherwise, those things just didn't occur. And I wonder, like, how much of it had to do with this burly dude that was there. I was holding a lot of reflectors. I was carrying a lot of bags. I had the camera around my neck in case I was at a, you know, I'm at a different spot so I could get a different angle. And those were usually black and white and grainy because I didn't know what I was doing.
Dude.
But, you know, like how much of that do you think, it's kind of like the big, you know, power forward or center in a basketball game that can't shoot or even catch, but the defense changes because he's there.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be honest, I think it just makes everything easier. I've noticed, my work, just like the whole experience and just how things are going, even for like an engagement session, for an example, everything just seems easier and like it flows better. I mean, there's certain instances.
First of all, I'm carrying 20 pounds of her stuff, so she seems
so
lighter.
that is, I just
weird.
feel lighter
Everything
already.
seems easier.
But there's certain situations, like if I'm doing obviously like a boudoir session or like an intimate couple session where his giant presence is probably not as
well, so
appreciated.
Like it's the other way too. That flips. Because you do, okay, I want to talk about this for a second since you brought it up. You do like a next day thing, right? Sometimes?
I do, if the couple wants to do kind of like a day after session.
And this is sort of, this is, maybe it's not a new concept, but I don't remember seeing a lot of these back in the day.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I do feel like it's more of a common thing lately.
Recently, right.
Yeah. So essentially, I mean, we did this with our couple in Kansas, and we have a few more of them coming up this year. But basically, it's usually the morning after the wedding or something. After the wedding is over and they're not as stressed and just have time to just be with themselves and honestly just like snuggle in bed. Like we just hang out with them for the morning and just take photos and just them just like snuggling in bed and or just I mean, some of them are outdoors, but most of the time it's just in their apartment, just like sitting on the floor, hanging out, laughing.
So get into the I'm interested in the quote unquote meat and potatoes of that a little bit from a business standpoint. Is that something that you have as an add-on to a package?
It is, so it's essentially an add-on session if they decide to go with it.
So they can add that on, and with any of your add-ons or any of your packages or the way that you have things set up, what sort of efforts or what sort of things do you do to push that?
I guess mainly it's just sharing images for those opportunities, I guess. So when we post things from morning after sessions, then I'll have 3 or 4 brides for the next year be interested in it and kind of go
even brides that you've already booked will then say, hey, you know what, I want that too. Sweet.
Yeah. So I don't ever push it necessarily, but just being able to share the images from that and just talk about the experience.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why I like, so for me, I'm a little older, but social media is like this love-hate thing that I have, right?
Yeah.
We know about
It's-
that.
yeah,
with
we
you
feel
for
it
sure,
too.
and I appreciate that. I feel like you and I track
I don't.
with that.
I don't post a lot of stuff. I'm a huge creeper, though. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
looking
Dude,
at
Everyone is.
That's how I roll.
100,000 times
Yeah.
a day. I'm looking at stuff
Yeah.
and double tapping if I want to.
Yeah.
But I don't if I don't.
I always feel really, really special when I get a double tap from
From
the Jed Toffer.
the
You
Jed
should,
Toffer.
The Jedness.
because I don't like things that I don't like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and the majority of stuff I don't
Yeah.
like, so
Yeah.
I don't double tap.
Now I'm gonna be paying attention.
You should. You have too many. You can't do that without wasting your time anyway. So I just feel like I think what it's really good for is the super unobtrusive way, like for example, that you say you're not pushing it. You're not in the
Yeah.
traditional sense.
Right.
But I feel like you are in this postmodern,
Right.
super unobtrusive, organic sense. I mean, you're doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's not an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, your stuff is curated. It's well thought out. I've watched you for a while. I
Yeah.
can tell. And you throw a lot of the quote unquote real stuff in there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it is real, which is also great. But it's also part of the appeal, right?
Yeah. I would say it's twofold. I mean, part of me loves being able to share those images and
Sure.
the experience that we had with that couple. And then, yeah, like you're right. I mean, the other part is like, yes, I would love to be able to do this again for another couple.
And you want to do it
Yeah.
again because
Yeah.
A, you're going to make some money, and B, you really love it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just,
Absolutely.
and even for us being married, just looking back, like I wish we would have done that,
Yeah.
the morning after our
I
wedding.
don't-
I would have paid,
I would have.
yeah.
I'm in a different spot now than I was 4
Yeah.
years ago, though. I really am. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's a semester of podcasts for you and me, brother.
I went from like being weary of like our photographer at our wedding and like being
Yeah.
like weirded out by like posing and stuff to like now I'm a wedding photographer. What just
Yeah.
happened? Like seriously. I mean, I am. It's crazy.
You're different now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very.
He's a
Yeah.
changed man.
You have evolved.
Yeah, but it's just because of those sparkles and like seriously, like yes, there
Sparkles
has
and
been some
rainbows,
really
yes.
hard moments,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. But like the times when it's good, it's like when it's good, it's really, really, really good.
Let me ask you. Let me play on that. I'll riff on that a little bit too, just so people can understand that this is really off the cuff. Also, I want people to get something out of it in the vein that what would you tell? Okay, so there's who knows how many people are out there that are husband-wife teams, or that one of them is in the mix and the other one's reluctant or not really in the mix.
Yeah.
What would you say to them? And think about this for a second. I want from both perspectives separately.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever talks first will go first, and then the next person throws their hat into the mix.
So just to
Well, I'm gonna go
clarify,
first.
That's perfect. That's so perfect.
we're going to talk over each other. So what advice would we give to them?
It can be advice.
Yeah.
Well, but
Okay.
what would you say to them? Maybe it's advice,
Okay.
and maybe your advice is don't do it, or maybe you have something practical, or maybe you have something. What is the first thing that comes to your mind for someone that's considering this or that it's brand new at this?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go
Should I go
Nick?
first? I'll go first.
Now I'm interested in what you have to say.
I am very interested.
I would say from a guy's perspective, so like I'm talking about if it's like a husband that is on the edge and contemplating, should I do this? I would say do it. Absolutely do it. And literally, this may not sound super professional to say, but just get a camera and go out and shoot with your wife. And it's gonna suck.
Actually,
really is.
if I can interject a little bit,
Well, this is-
I
this
know
is
this is
my
your time, but one of my friends, Jackie Austin, actually, she gave me this advice because I always thought, oh, it'd be so cool if we could shoot together.
Yeah.
She's like, I just gave my husband a camera. I didn't say like, hey, can you
Yeah.
please learn to shoot? She's
Yeah.
like, just buy him a camera, give it to him, don't say anything. And that's
She
exactly
gave me
what
a
I did.
camera, and I was like, well, that's weird.
I was like, here you go,
What
babe.
do I-
But then I
what
was
do I
like,
do
well,
with
Yeah.
this?
I mean, I have to play with it. So, I mean, you know,
It's
mine.
gear.
It's mine,
Like,
not
I
yours.
spent a
Don't
lot of
touch
money
it.
on this, babe.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, this is my camera, not yours.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
He did become very possessive very quickly, which I was
Yeah.
fine with because
Yeah.
it was a good sign.
Right. Right. You just shut up at that point.
I
now I'm
did,
telling
yes.
her what camera I want. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
So, just do it. And
And you said it's going to be difficult.
it's
going to
be, yeah, you're not going to like put out great work. You know, Kristen, might not use very many of my images,
Mhm.
and I'm okay with that.
You have to be. Right.
Yeah, I would say realize, just from my perspective, my opinion, so much of being a second shooter is not even shooting. It is. I joke earlier about saying that I'm a talent manager with
Mhm.
Kristen, because Kristen's the talent, and I manage. What I mean by that is, like, on a wedding day, my job is to get the multi-angle that I need to get as a second shooter. But
Mhm.
it's also, so much of what I do has nothing to do with photography at all. It has everything to do with taking control of a situation, being an assistant. Like the people side of it is so important. You obviously have to have a really good photography component, but with that, I'm talking like, if there's anything that's going on that needs to be resolved immediately, you know, like, I want to be there. I don't want Kristen to have to think about anything except for taking pictures.
You're listening. You're
Yeah.
anticipating.
Yeah.
You have logistics on your
Yeah.
mind. You have what's coming up next. You have where you're going. You're
Yeah.
thinking about
Mhm.
all these
Yeah.
different things
Yeah.
so that
I'm
she
thinking,
doesn't
like,
have to.
Mothers and fathers
Mhm.
and those types of issues that, you know,
The relationship piece you got going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking,
And that's something that's
like, family
definitely
formals.
important for me too, but I can't do as much of it when I'm trying to lead shoot. And I just kind of remember another thing he does is make sure that I am hydrated and nourished
I'm a
throughout
water
the
boy.
day.
Yeah, I like
That's-
push water on her.
At one point, I just remember I was doing family photos. I'm like, babe, I don't have time to like eat right now. He's like, you really need to eat. You haven't eaten in like 5 hours or
Yeah.
whatever. And he was literally like putting grapes in my mouth as I was, going
what?
through the different
And that's the
family
only way
groups.
she would have eaten.
If
like,
you
seriously.
don't
And I'm like,
think
thanks, babe.
if you don't
Yeah.
think it's important to be nourished and hydrated,
Yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
find out.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
very
insane.
quickly.
You'll find out what happens
Oh,
Yeah.
because you'll get wrecked.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
insane.
And you might
rough.
not even, it's one of those things where you don't even realize it at first, but then
Yeah.
2 hours later,
Yeah.
everything you just did was horrible.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what? I didn't eat since 4 a.m. when
Yeah.
I woke up.
We call it the
Yeah.
wedding hangover the next day.
Mhm.
And I used
Yeah,
to
and that's
I used to
very
kind
common.
of take jabs at Kristen, because before I started shooting, she'd come home and like the next day she'd just be wrecked. And
She's a mess, yeah.
She's like, oh, I have a wedding hangover. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, how long was your wedding? Oh, 8 hours. Like, do you realize that I work 12 hours a day doing construction every day, and I come home and I'm fine, and I go back to
I was
work
like,
the next
come
day?
to my next wedding with
Yeah,
me,
and
and then
yeah,
you
give it
will
a shot.
see.
The first wedding that
it's
I
not
shot,
just physical.
I
or
was
emotional.
embarrassed
It was
of
a week.
myself.
You were in bed for a week and a
Oh, it
half.
was bad. It was seriously, because you're just like physically and emotionally and mentally drained. It's three.
Yeah.
Like, it's all three of those.
But
Yeah.
it's always
Insane.
so worth it.
Yeah.
Somehow,
I was
yeah.
like, I apologize.
Well, great. That's so fantastic, and I can relate. Kristen,
Yeah.
let's give you your shot. What
Okay.
you have a chance to give any sort of advice or any sort of thing that you want to hang out there for anybody.
Yeah, honestly, the first thing I thought of when you asked that is just to make sure that when your business partners, and just allow time for you to be just husband and wife too.
That is
And-
great.
And at the end of the day, I mean, at the end of the workday, just shutting your office door and making time for your relationship. And that's something I say, and Eric's smiling over here because it's something that we're trying to work through.
It's one
even
day at a
now.
time.
Yes, it is. And it's really, really hard for me to not be like with my email, like, oh, I just got this inquiry, at 10 o'clock at night.
I get
and
The
and
amount
just
of passion
constantly
that she has, you cannot shut off.
right.
Like,
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, it does wear on your relationship for
It
sure.
can.
And
It
that's
certainly
something we're finding out
yeah.
Well,
early,
if you find out how to curtail that sooner than 20, I know you guys are on year 3. We're on year like 23.
Yeah.
Something like
So
that.
we're
I don't
very
know.
new with this.
I actually felt.
But
like
I just
when
mean, if you figure it out, let me know.
Yeah.
It's,
I don't think we're that
when I
close
say
to
one
it,
day at
but
a time, it's it's just something you can't. If you're lax about it, then it'll get out of your hands.
Yeah. And it's not to say that it's not an amazing experience being able to work with your spouse, but it's just something that we're trying to be more cognizant of.
Yeah.
The further we get along in this is just making an effort. I mean, we do certain things, on date night or something. We don't talk about work, and it is a lot harder to not talk about photography for a night than you would think. But
I would say that I was naive in thinking that if I jumped into this with Kristen and was shooting beside her, that all of our work stuff would kind of like flow in with our relationship, and like it would be okay if we talked about work all the time because it would be you and me together.
Yeah.
And like we would never get burned out at work because we'd just be at work all the time, and like it would just be us, and we'd be so in love, and we'd be working so hard, and it's just like, oh boy, I have a lot to learn.
Well, you're in the process of learning,
and we are, and honestly,
and we've gotten a lot of great advice from couples, husband and wife teams who have been,
well, just your podcast earlier with Julia, like that was
just listening to that
pretty
affected us a lot
for us.
too.
It was huge.
That blew my mind too.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
fantastic. And it was
Well, you know what? I'm hoping that this is the first of many with you guys, especially that we're so close.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoyed it.
I know there will be a lot more to talk about in the future. I know you have a big year ahead of you.
We do,
We're excited.
I wish you the absolute best. I'll keep following along. Where do people go to follow you guys? Where can they find you?
They can follow us on Instagram, just at Kristen Kaiser. Our website is just kristenkaiser.com. From there, you can find all of our links.
And you do a great job
of
posting. You have a lot of... There are times when I see my stories and then I see yours. And, like up at the top, the dashes, like sometimes there's just like one big line. And then sometimes with Kristen Kaiser, there's like 74.
It can get to be too much where people don't even want to watch it.
Jeez.
When we're doing a wedding or something.
Yeah, I try to do behind the scenes too, which that's a whole other podcast.
It's like, you should not post so much. Yeah. I'm like, I'm just so excited.
But you're just rolling them in there. Yeah, you're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You can tell.
Yeah.
You're just rolling them in. Like when something happens, you're like, boom, there it is.
Yep.
I'm like, if you want to watch it, you can. If not,
you don't have to.
It's
like our own little reality show.
People don't have to watch. Nobody needs to tune in if they don't want to.
We're not making anybody.
Hey, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Was great.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Very good.
It was my pleasure. We will see you again.